What is up, YouTube? In today's video, we'll be talking about the NBA trade deadline that is tomorrow at around 4 p.m. in the early afternoon to late afternoon. So I'm just going to be recapping one trade that happened last night into this morning and my reaction to it, and also some possible trades that can happen in the next 24 hours, which is when the deadline is. So we're going to start out with the 14 trade that involved the Nuggets, the Timberwolves, the Hawks, and the Rockets. One of the biggest players on the move is Clint Capella from the Rockets to now the Hawks. For the Hawks, I think it was a good trade because they were looking to get a center this trade deadline, and they were either going to get him or like Andre Drummond or a player that can rebound the ball and make them a better team, because right now they're one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. They're very young and talented. They have DeAndre Hunter, they just got in the draft. They have Trae Young, John Collins, so Kevin Huerter. So a very young team, and can use, I guess you could call Capella a veteran, or he just has more experience than them, and they need a defensive player who can grab rebounds, and he's also good on the offensive end too. And to the Rockets, in this 14 trade, one of the bigger names was Robert Covington. Not a huge name, just out of all the players that the Rockets got, he was one of the bigger ones. On the Rockets side of the trade, I don't think it was a really good trade because now they don't really have a good center. Like PJ Tucker might have to be their center, and he's like 6'6", 6'5", and they have other centers like Isaiah Hartenstein, but he doesn't have a lot of experience in the NBA, or like who's the other? I think they have like Tyson Chandler maybe, but I don't know why they really had to get rid of Capella. They should have tried to get a big man. People knew that they were possibly getting Covington, but they also did this to free up cap space, so maybe they'll try and get, if they have room for, like, I don't know if they'll be able to get, like, Andre Drummond, but a center or a big man that can replace that Capella at the center position, because most people knew he was going. The Nuggets didn't get a huge player out of this trade. A lot of picks involved small players, like younger players. Gerald Green, he's not having the best year. He's had better years in the past year or two, but he was a bigger name. And speaking of the Timberwolves in this deal, not having to do with this, there has been reports that like D'Angelo Russell could be traded from the Timberwolves, from the Warriors to the Timberwolves for Wiggins and some other players or picks, but that is not official. And also, I'm a Celtics fan, and I think that they should. Well, first of all, I wanted them to try and get Capella somehow without getting rid of Kanter. Obviously, they're starting players, but that's a pretty hard task. When you can really only get rid of like Daniel Tice, and they needed to get rid of at least $10 million of contract to get Capella. And they have a lot of picks, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. I think they should try and trade their draft picks, because they have a lot of young players. This draft, they had 4 rookies: Tremont Waters, Carson Edwards, Romeo Langford, and I'm missing one. Romeo Langford, Grant Williams, Tremont Waters, and Carson Edwards. And I guess you could count Taco too, but about 3 out of those 5 guys are mostly up with the team, or they're all on 2-way contracts. Langford was hurt most of the beginning of the year, so he didn't really play. He played a little in the G League and some up with the Celtics. Carson Edwards has been up and down. Taco has only played he's sat on the bench a lot, but he's played about 5 games. But mostly in the G League, trying to improve, because he couldn't be, even though he's undrafted, he could be a good player if he can just, like, get used to the NBA. So, that's pretty much all I have to say. Again, if the Celtics going along with what I was saying, they have a lot of picks. They have about 3 first-round picks next year, including, like, Grizzlies. Like, if the Grizzlies are, like, it's, like, top 6 protected. So if they're, like, end up getting like the 7th, 8th, or higher, and the Celtics get that pick, so that pick can be valuable to get like pretty good player in the draft next year, so they could trade that and get a good player to help them in the playoffs, because what they really needed was a defensive player like Capella, because that's what they really needed him, because in the Eastern Conference, there's a lot of height. So, like, for example, if they were to verse the Bucks in a series, you need someone to guard Giannis in the paint. Like, Al Horford, he was a decent defensive player last year. But, like, Capella would have been a perfect fit. Again, Embiid is a good example. Because Kanter is really good on the offensive end, offensive rebounds. Most of his rebounds come from the offensive end, and he averages almost a double-double off the bench this year. And Daniel Tice, on the other hand, is good on defense. So Capella is like an upgrade to Tice and like Kanter mixed into one. But still, I wanted them to keep Kanter, but they ended up not making a deal for him in time. So I think they shouldn't make any deals for like any players anymore. They should just trade draft picks, but that's all I have to say. So didn't talk too much about a lot of things in this video, but this is just my opinion on some things. So I'm gonna probably make a video on Saturday or around then. If I don't, I don't, but if I do, it would be about recapping the trade deadline and the trades that happened tomorrow afternoon and my reaction to it. So that's all I have to say for this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.